Hey guys, welcome back to the Calvinist Contradiction. Um, just wanted to say thank you for all your comments. I look at them every morning. I get on there and check them out, and I can't respond to all of them. I try to leave a little message at least to some of them, but just wanted to thank you guys out there in the community, you guys who've subscribed, you guys who watch this regularly. I wanted to thank you guys so much. And also, thank you guys for your prayers for the baptism service that we had the other day. Two people ended up giving their life to the Lord and started their journey with Him. And so it's just amazing to see that in the Islamic context that we are in the Near East or Asia Minor. And so just wanted to thank you guys for your prayers because I know that I mentioned praying for us over the weekend. And today we're going to be looking at Genesis 26. Also, wanted to say if you like this, please hit the like button, share this content. I know you guys have been doing that out there. And please pray about supporting our ministry. We are crowdfunded. I am an overseas church planner, and I have planted two successful churches here in Asia Minor, and I run some ministries over here. One of them being funeral services for expats who live here, and so do a lot of stuff. And we're all crowdfunded, so please pray about supporting us if you feel led to. Links are in the description. You can go down in the description and click on the link for the Bible verse, which we're looking at today. Genesis 26. And we're doing this because we believe that if Calvinism or Reformed theology or whatever it is true, the Bible would teach us in the opening narrative because we want to read the Bible in context. What's the context of the Bible? It's the ancient Near Eastern context. So a reformer is not the context, okay? However helpful they may be, it's still not the context of the Bible. It's the ancient Near East, so they're writing to a person in the ancient Near East because the Bible's written for everybody, but not to everybody. So knowing who they're writing that to is important. And we believe that if theology is important, which we all believe that, then it would be set up in the opening narrative and carried all the way through. Now, I know that you Calvinists out there always say, well, it's in Genesis 50. Well, we're talking about Genesis 3 and 4. That's where we want to see your Tulip systematic or your doctrines of grace systematic or your reformed whatever, however you want to parse that. We want to see that in Genesis 3, 4, 5, 6, and then carried through as we have made a point here. And I can literally open up the Bible to any page and show you our theology. But I always get directed to Genesis 50. I think it's Exodus 10, all these like tent poles that the Calvinists have to set up that their founder 5,000 years later, 1,500 years later, whatever set up and they have to go to. And so we're asking this question, where is Calvinism found in Genesis 26? Let's go. And so now there was a famine in the land beside the previous famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham. So Isaac went to Gerar to Abimelech, king of the Philistines. The Lord appeared to him and said, so here we go, the theophany again. We've talked about this so much. I know that a lot of people aren't familiar with this, but this is literally the visible Lord appearing. So in ancient Near Eastern thought, in their worldview, there was two deities. One who is on, let's say El, and then there's Baal. And these two, one is visible, one's not visible. One's the storm rider, one is, the invisible. And the New Testament picks this up, right? He is the visible representation of the invisible God. And so here we are in the visible one. He can see him. This is the second power in Jewish theology. This is Jesus in the Trinity theology, the Son showing up. We can do more videos on this. I do a lot of this on Critical Thinking Out Loud, my other channel. But this is the visible Lord showing up in the Old Testament. And we've talked about this a lot because we've seen him a lot. And so what would be the point of that? What's the point of the Lord even having to show up if he's controlling all things? He's just going to control all things anyway, in the Calvinist perspective, in the Reformed perspective. But he doesn't. He comes and he shows up and he says this: do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land which I shall tell you. Now, why is that important? because he's saying, he didn't say here, I'm controlling you. I'm meticulously controlling you. So you're not going to go down to Egypt anyway. That's not what it says here. It says, do not go down. What's he doing? He's deferring him to the volition of the will. He's referring to his volition. Do not go down there. I don't want you down there. And so, stay in the land which I shall tell you, sojourn in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. And so, there's commands, right? Again, Calvinists in the comment section right now, tell me what is the point of a command in a deterministic, meticulous control. Okay, that's what determinism is. That is Calvinism. That is Reformed theology. God is sovereign over everything, and sovereignty isn't the normal definition, the one that we can look up in Merriam-Webster's. It is the Calvinistic, that he controls, does everything. Okay, and so what is the point of a command? But he said he's not commanding him. He doesn't tell him, I'm going to make you do this. He says, sojourn in the land, and I will be with you and bless you. For you and your descendants I will give these lands, and I will establish the oath which I swore to your father Abraham. I will multiply your descendants as the stars of heaven, and I will give your descendants all these lands, and by your descendants all the nations of the earth. Oh, wait, all of the elect shall be blessed. No, all the nations of the earth, okay? Calvinist person out there, Reformed person out there who, hold yourself above everybody else. No, all nations on the earth will be blessed because Abraham obeyed my commands. Why? Because before the foundation of the world, I established, I decreed, I, eternally willed for this to happen. No. Why? Because Abraham obeyed the volition of the will. Again, we can do this all day, Calvinists. We can do this. We can just say, why didn't it say that? If we're supposed to render the text with a deterministic worldview, why wouldn't they put it in there for us to read? And that's the whole point, because it's bologna sausage, and you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to render the text the way that they're presented here. And it's because Abraham obeyed, because he trusted, he was counted righteous. Not he was counted righteous before the foundation of the world. And then when he did trust, he was counted righteous again. It doesn't make any sense. It's not what the text says. So that's why we're on this channel, shouting from the rooftops that it's bologna sausage, whack, lame theology that we need to get rid of. And yeah, well, I won't go on. I won't belabor, but because he obeyed me and kept my charge, so he did that, not God made him do that, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Calvinist, what's the point of any of those? What's the point of a charge? What's the point of commandments? What's the point of statutes? What's the point of laws if God is determining everything? If he is literally doing everything, there's no point of that. There's no point for the statement. It wouldn't be in the Bible, and God's not, contradictory. God's not, he's not confused. He's not saying one thing when he really meant to do, and he's doing something else. That's not who God is, okay? So cut it out. And so Isaac lived in Gerar. When the men of this place asked about his wife, he said, she is my sister, for the sins of the father. Here we go. She is my sister, for he was afraid to say, my wife, thinking the men of the place might kill me on the account of Rebecca, for she is beautiful. You mean God kill him? Because that's what Calvin says. The mast doesn't fall down, or Spurgeon, the mast doesn't break off the ship because the winds blew real hard and maybe it's not very good craftsmanship, falls down and kills a man. God snapped that, killed him because he wanted him dead. That's how he sees it. God got glory out of killing a man. That's how they render that. And so why doesn't it say that here? That God will kill me because of this. Because you're not supposed to think of it that way. It came about when he had been there for a long time that Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, looked down through the window and saw, and behold, Isaac was caressing his wife Rebecca. Then Abimelech called Isaac and said, behold, certainly she is your wife. Now then, how then did you say she is my sister? And Isaac said to him, because God decreed it from the foundation of the world. Oh, wait, it doesn't say that. So don't render it that way. It says, and Isaac said to him, because I said, I might die on account of her. Why? Because the Lord's going to kill him? Because it's decreed before the foundation of the world? Because he wants him dead? He wants glory because he's a glory hog? No. Why? Because he's afraid that people are going to take his wife. Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? You have done to us." Okay? Not what is this that the Lord has made you do to us? What have you done to us? Oh, well, he's totally unable to recognize the Lord, to come to the Lord, to all of his thoughts are just, evil. Continuously, he cannot think about the Lord, right, Calvinists? That's how you render these things. He can't even look at this. He can't even understand. He doesn't know. He can't look. Islam. You can't ask any questions about God. You are totally unable to do that. Strange bedmates with Calvinism and Islam, because it's the same spirit behind both of these. What have you done to us? One of the people might have easily lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us. No, the Lord before the foundation of the world would have decreed that his wife would have sex, that his wife would be slept with, and then, brought guilt on us. No, you would have done that because you're lying, right? That's how this is supposed to be read right here. So Abimelech charged all the people, saying, "He who touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." Now Isaac sowed in the land and reaped the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. And the man became rich and continued to grow richer until he became very wealthy, and he had possessions of flocks and herds and a great household, so that the Philistines envied him. Now all the wells which his father's servants had dug in those days of Abraham, his father, the Philistines stopped up by filling them with earth. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are too powerful for us." So Isaac departed from there and camped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. Then Isaac dug again the wells of water which had been dug in the days of his father Abraham, and the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham, and he gave them the same names which his father had given them. But Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of flowing water, and the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with the herdsmen of Isaac, saying, "The water is ours." So he named the well Esek, because they contended with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over it too. So he named it Sitnah. He moved away from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. Therefore he named the Rehoboth, for he said, "At last the Lord has made room for us, and we will be fruitful in the land." Now, how does he come to the conclusion that the Lord has made room for us? Because before the foundation of the world, this is how it's supposed to be? No. Because why? Because these people didn't quarrel with him. So he digs one, quarrels, digs one, quarrels, digs one. We have peace. We're going to call this Rehoboth. And the Lord has made room for us here. No quarreling, none of this stuff. So are we supposed to just render it deterministically here, even though there's no proof? We keep on doing this. We're just going to keep on doing this. Show us, respond, Calvinists. Where are we supposed to get determinism? Where in any of the 26 chapters before this are we supposed to render this deterministically? That is the default for determining or for rendering all the text. We haven't seen it. It's not in Genesis 3. You guys have been quarreling with me about that. Oh, how could our theology be set up on one chapter? Well, that's what you literally tell us, that after Genesis 3, people cannot come to the Lord, total inability. They cannot be saved, unconditional election, right? They can't do that. They have to be made saved. Limited atonement, not everybody, not for everybody, for sure. Irresistible grace, that when it comes, you're going to have to do it. You can't, you can't fall away. You were just never saved in the first way. Well, that's not what the Bible says, but that's what Calvin says. And then perseverance of the saint, you'll never know. There's no assurance of faith. That's what boiled down, you'll never know. Assurance, you cannot have assurance, because you could die in 1 minute. Before you die, you take a breath and you didn't believe, you weren't actually elected. You can never know. Calvinists, I talk with you regularly when I push this. You do admit there is no assurance of faith. There cannot be. until you go to the other side, and then you might make it. Guess who else shares that same view? Islam. You never know. Strange bedmates for sure. We're writing a book on that, and we'll get it to you guys. So then he went up from there to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him in the same night. Wow, here we go. The theophany again. I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you. Well, you're not supposed to fear anyway, because he's meticulously controlling you to fear. There's no point. Oh, wait, God's a megalomaniac. Oh, wait, God, he is a psychopath. He's just saying what he actually controls not to do, right? Do not fear. Well, I control you to fear. So why am I saying this? Because it's baloney sausage. To even think about rendering the text that way is bunk. Throw it in the dung heap. We're going to keep doing this all the time. We're going to point this out. What is the point of a schizophrenic God saying when he actually, in this reformed systematic, he controls who fears or not, but he says, do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham. Why? Because of the foundation of the world, we keep on doing this. Do you understand? Do you see this? Because of the foundation of the world, I decreed it eternally, and there's nothing that can ever change it. No, for my sake of my servant Abraham. Why? Well, we just read that. Because he kept my charges, my commands, my statutes, my laws, things that don't make any sense and don't matter whatsoever in a deterministic worldview. That is why that's why nobody uses this chapter. No Calvinist is ever using 26. No Calvinist is ever using any of the chapter 50. We want to see 50. We want to see Genesis 50. We want to see Exodus 12. We can't establish our theology from 3, from 4. That's bad hermeneutics. This is all the stuff that I'm getting in the comments. It's bad hermeneutics to establish it out of one. That's exactly what your systematic claims to do. Now, I know you don't live consistently within the systematic. That's why this channel exists, or I wouldn't be on here. But that is what we're talking about. A theology that is established at the place that the theology actually says it's established at, and then carried on throughout the whole of the scriptures, not 50 chapters later with no context. So, Calvinist, do your homework. Come from Genesis 3, 4, 5, and show us total inability. Show us unconditional election. Show us limited atonement. Show us irresistible grace. Show us the doctrines of grace. Show us the Reformed theology. See, I don't want you guys hiding behind. There's no Calvinism. Well, we're talking about Reformed theology here. So he built an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. Then Abimelech came to him from Gerar with his advisor, this guy, and Pichol, and the commander of his army. And Isaac said to them, I skipped over and said this guy because I don't know how to say this name, Asurfath or something like that. Isaac said to them, why have you come to me, since you hate me and have sent me away from? Why have you come to me? Because God hates me. He sent me away. He did this before the foundation of the world for his own glory, because that's what he likes to do. And you can't. Who are you, oh man? Again, I talk about this all the time with Muslims. This is their systematic that Calvin adopts. I don't know how I can make it more clear that Calvinism shares more with Islam than it does with Christianity, Protestantism. I can't say it anymore. I'm literally making a book on this, writing a book on this to show you more clear. No, it doesn't. Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove it to you, and then you can debate me. Who's ever out there who doesn't agree that Calvinism shares more with Islam than it does with the mainstream accepted Christianity, however you might want to label that. And so they say, why have you come to me? This is Isaac again. Why have you come to me? Why have you come to me? Not why has the Lord made you come to me? Because that's a systematic, right? That's how the Calvinist says it. Isaac's a Calvinist. He doesn't say that. None of them act like this. Since you hate me and you have sent me away from you. Well, no, since God hates me and God made me get sent away from you. That's not how it says it here. That's not how they wrote it. That's not how we're supposed to interpret it. We do this all day long, every chapter in the Bible. We will keep doing this to you until you prove us wrong. And you're not going to be able to. So, Calvinists, why isn't it written like that? Why isn't Isaac himself thinking in a deterministic manner? They said, we see plainly that the Lord has been with you. A total inability. They can't see anything about the Lord. They are literally unable to, right? Reformed person out there, total inability, not total depravity, not that these people are depraved, they need the Savior. No, they're totally unable to do anything to even recognize the Lord. How dare they hear in this systematic that they can see plainly that the Lord, capital L, so this is Yahweh, is with you. So we said, let there be an oath between us, even between you and us. Let us make a covenant with you that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you and have not done to you nothing but good and have sent you away in peace. Deterministic worldview. What? These people don't believe in a deterministic worldview because it's not of the ancient Near East. That's not what they are. That's not what they're saying. You are now the blessed of the Lord. How do these people recognize this if they're totally unable to? Before the foundation of the world, these people are not Calvinists. So how are they doing this? See how ridiculous this gets, Calvinists? When we point it out and say, oh, wait, let's go back to Paul. Let's go back to Romans 8. Let's go back to Romans 9. We need to be there. We need to be Ephesians 1. No, we're saying if those theologies are what are inspiring Paul, or if that theology, what's inspiring Paul for this? And if you go to Romans 5, guess where Paul's coming from? Genesis 3. Wait, we can't establish a theology out of Genesis 3. That's bad hermeneutics. Go and read the comments. This is what Calvinists are saying. But Paul himself goes to, in Romans 5, which guess what? Precedes Romans 8, Romans 9, Romans 10, the glory verses of Calvinism. Well, 10 and 11, he gets back into this stuff. One man is justified, or one man's sin comes to the world. One man, all men are justified. That's 5. That's 11. That's in Romans. Those are before and after the verses that you say are, your linchpin for this whole bogus theology. But I'll defer. You're now the blessed of the Lord. These people can recognize that. And then he made a feast, and they ate and drank. And in the morning they rose early and exchanged oaths, and Isaac sent them away. The Lord sent them away through Isaac. No, then Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. Now it came about on the same day that Isaac's servants came in and told him about the well which they dug, and said to him, we have found water. And they called it Sheba. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they brought grief to Isaac and Rebekah. No, the Lord brought grief to Isaac and Rebekah because he wants glory through it, through his pain, through his suffering, for this person being a thorn in his side. God wants glory for that. He's not the benevolent God that you think. He likes to rape. He likes to kill. He likes to build death camps. And guess what? He does it all for his glory. Hey, what problem do you have, Calvinist? Who are you? Oh, man. Oh, worm. Who are you to go against the eternal decree of God killing millions of babies in the womb in America every year? Who are you? That's for his glory. Don't you recognize that in your own systematic? Who are you? How dare you? See, we can say that it's disgusting. Human sex trafficking is not for God's glory. That's against God's glory. Killing babies in the womb is not for God's glory. It's disgusting. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want his babies burnt to Baal. That's what it says in the Old Testament. He left Israel because of that. It wasn't for his own glory. It's sick. It's disgusting. It is a theology ripe for the dung heap. So let's put it there, flesh it down, and start looking at the Bible in its proper context in the ancient Near East. Um, hey, Chris, out there, thank you so much for your, for getting on here. Hope your thing on Saturday went good. Let me know in the comment how that went, if you had a good time. And love you, brother. Thank you for joining us again. Calvinists out there, we're looking for you to prove your theology from this verse and again from Genesis 3 and 4. That's where we want to see you start. That's where we started, and show us where total inability. How is Abimelech here recognizing the Lord? He's totally unable. Oh, there was a blip, and before the foundation of the world, God sneezed, and this happened, but it can't happen anywhere else. No, that's not how we're supposed to render it. And so we love you guys. We say this with love in our heart, that do not ascribe awful things to the Lord. Not going to be good for you. Not saying that you're not going to make it to heaven. You only make it to heaven by placing your allegiance in Jesus. But it's going to be a really sad day when you show up expecting a, malevolent monster for his own glory hog, but then there's the most benevolent being you've ever could imagine. Obviously, you can't imagine. So, love you guys. We will talk to you again probably tomorrow for another episode of Calvinistic Contradiction.